Imagine my shock and delight when I got home yesterday and received a package from a PGA Tour winner with a golf club in it that should help transform my golf game. Today we're going to unbox it, see exactly what it is, see exactly what's in here and see how it can help my game and potentially your game. This comes from Parker McLaughlin. He won on the PGA Tour in 2008. He actually missed 8 of the 9 greens on the front 9 in the final round and went on to win by 7 shots. Hopefully that's what's going to happen to me once I get this club. I'm not going to lie, Chris had to talk me through this. I thought it was cheating. I thought you shouldn't be able to use this in competition play, but you can. So if you want to get one of these, if you want Parker to help you with your short game, like potentially he could help me, then let's take a look at what's in this box, because it is from the Short Game Chef. There's a recipe menu in here. It is, of course, a Vokey SM9 with the magical 8 degrees of bounce on there and an M grind. And we're going to discuss just what's so special about this wedge. It is not just a standard Vokey wedge. There's some differences on here that should potentially allow me to add more shots to my arsenal. And if you have a good arsenal of short game shots, that can massively help you not potentially win a PGA Tour event missing 8 of 9 greens, but maybe win your monthly medal by missing 15, 16 of 18 greens. Some of my best rounds ever have been when I've missed a load of greens. So let's get this bad boy open and see if it can help me regain my childhood skills. So before we kick things off and have a look what is in the recipe menu in this box, I'm just going to play some standard shots. So this isn't a very difficult shot. You should be anticipating to get maybe up and down 50-60% of the time here. Tour average would be?
Tour average from here would be probably around about 6 feet, which we know from there you're expected to make probably 50% of your putts if you're a tour player.
So interestingly, Chris has taught me a lot in the terms of short game. That's massively inside tour. I've really enjoyed that to kick things off. But he's taught me a lot in that I don't necessarily need a 60 degree, but this club does have a couple of specific differences on it. You'll see we have the flight lines here, which I personally think, I wasn't sure if they were going to be legal. Chris tells me they are. They are, aren't they?
I believe so.
I believe so. I'm going to get a towel because we want to make sure this wedge stays nice and clean. That's one of the big things about short game. Make sure you don't have too much muck or indeed water between your grooves. But I think this could be a massive factor in helping golfers not only determine how they're going to get up and down more, but determine exactly what is your weakness in your short game. Because I'm quite comfortable here. We've got loads of green to work with. I can play this shot pretty much all day. I can play it in nice and low with some spin. I can play it in nice and high. See, we've got lots of, it's that time of year now in the UK where you really don't want too much mud. But I'm keen to learn from a PGA Tour winner. I'm keen to learn from a man who got up and down pretty much 90% of the time on the stretch on the back 9. Andy says he's worked with thousands of golfers, including some of the golfers at a really, really high level. I've seen he's worked with Joel Darman, I've seen he's worked with lots of other fantastic PGA Tour and LPGA Tour players. So what are these flight lines all about? And how can it help, oh watch this, and how can it help you get up and down more? Right, let's go a little bit short-sighted. Let's explain potentially how this can help. And I want Chris's opinion on this because Chris is a short game expert in his own right. Let's see if this can help transform my game and potentially yours. So in this box, we didn't just get the Vokey SM9 wedge with the special sightlines, and we got a recipe book. Now this is important, it's imperative because anyone can get a golf club with some lines on it, but we've got a lovely note from Parker himself saying, hope you enjoy the new flatline technology on this wedge. Some sweet spinning wedge shots are coming your way soon, Team Short Game Chef, so thank you very much for that. Inside the box, I got a flop shot recipe, and this is something which I think goes massively nicely well with the wedge, obviously. So as you can see, the ingredients for this shot: left flight line, custom Vokey, which we have, very little green to work with, obstacle to carry, and secret sauce. Now what is the secret sauce? The directions are: run the far left flight line straight up the nose to get the club face open, position the hands and the shaft in a neutral position, so we have been talking about that already. Take a long backswing using syrupy arms and hands. I believe that means soft and fluid hands, so you want to be able to release the club. We're not going full speed, 65% swing speed for ideal tempo. At impact, return the shaft back to neutral and the club face to its starting position. So we're massively talking there about static loft and dynamic loft. So if I have that left flat line pointing up my nostril, ball position is going to be key here. I'm going to have it fairly central, if not fairly forward. I don't want that too far back because that's going to be very difficult to do. But from here you can see we have an obstacle to carry. We do have a bit more green to work with, but we couldn't find a short-sided flag this morning. And I'm just going to make sure that I do everything that Parker says. You can see just how high that shot did go. And the beauty about this is you don't necessarily need to catch them out the middle of the face. That one was a little bit toey, but I've still got the dynamic loft, I've still got the control, and I've still hit a pretty good shot. You can imagine if I wanted to play one so it lands just on the green here, if the flag was really short-sided, I would be able to play that shot where I get nice and neutral. The key here is not to drive the hands forward, keep the rotation and keep that club working through. As we said, just to the front of the green, plenty of stop. I can't believe how well I've played that from the rough actually. That was quite scary. But again, if I can take this to the rough, to the bunkers and to the golf course, it could totally transform how you play your short game, and you might actually start to enjoy it a little bit more as well. Let's jump in the bunkers, let's see how it can help us from the sand, then we're going to talk to Chris about what he thinks this could do for your golf game. So one of the things I really enjoy about this is if you jump in a bunker with not a lot of room to work with here, I apologise because this black wedge isn't about to look the same, but you see those sight lines do just help set the shaft angle as we've already spoke about, and the static loft which Chris spoke about, because it's imperative. I see so many people in bunkers who stand there with the weight forward, with forward shaft lean, and they get that third sight line pointing outside the left hip. You're never going to be able to release that with enough dynamic loft on there to get the ball up in the air. So many people talk about spin when we're talking about getting out of bunkers, but realistically landing angle is your friend as well. This isn't an easy shot. We've got not a lot of green to work with onto a downhill slope, and this ball is on a little bit of a downslope. I've tried to move it there to get us on a better lie. You can see I've now got the shaft nice and neutral. I've got the sight line up my nostril like it said in the recipe. And with plenty of loft there, I can get that ball coming out nicely towards that flag. That's flag high. That's pretty much as good as I would think you can do for distance there. Again, set that sight line up your left nostril, 65, and again out with plenty of spin on it. One of the things which is also really handy with this is it's just a reminder for you, and this is why I thought potentially it might be illegal, it might be classed as a training aid, so you're never really going to get this too wrong. Because if I were to set up at this and think, right, I'm going to hit my bunker shot with the black head, I wondered why he sent me a black head, but the black head shows off the white sight lines perfectly, and this really does just give you a bit more of a reminisce onto what you're trying to do. I'm not really doing much different there in my technique than I normally would, and I have been pretty good out of bunkers this year anyway, but this is one of the hardest bunker shots you're going to get, with short-sided onto a downslope, a little bit of wet sand as well, so that's not ideal. But realistically here, if I can take those shots every single time, I'm going to be more than happy. Can this help my game, and can it help your game? I think this is a massive factor in helping people develop a short game, grow a short game. You're going to drop shots off your scores and your handicap a lot more by getting up and down more of the time than hitting it 5 yards further off the tee. Right, so let's have a look at exactly what this is all about, because we've hit quite a few shots with this already. I wanted to test it properly. They weren't all massively successful, but trial and error is key with short game, not on the course, but on the practice area. And if you do have a look at these short game lines now, you'll see we have 3 lines here, and they very much dictate the static loft at address of this club. Now what we're trying to do is generate a static loft of the shot we want. It might mean the face is open, it might mean it's square, but it's also going to change the shaft angle as well. So if I stand at this ball, you'll see we've got not a lot of green to work with on this hole, and if Chris comes in and shows you kind of bird's eye view of this wedge, you can see if I stand with this nice and neutral with the face slightly open, that left hand sight line is pointing directly up at me. That means the shaft is pointing nice and neutral, and that means there's plenty of static loft on this club. Now what I'm trying to do here is release this club to generate the same dynamic loft as I'm static loft. Therefore the ball should pop up in the air and the ball should then release out nice. Oh, we've just not landed that far enough, but like I said, trial and error is key here. We need the good old towel again because it is, and I want to keep this looking nice as well. I must say it's a very nice looking wedge, isn't it? Really happy with the design on that. So again, if I just think about the recipe that it says there, I want 65% speed, I want the sight lines pointing up to my left nostril, Ball position's imperative again here as well. So let's see if now we can get that dynamic loft the same. And again, it's a nice shot. This is a very difficult shot to try and land those so close. And we're actually generating quite a lot of spin there as well. Spin isn't the ultimate factor that you need with short game. It's actually a factor which, for me, I think people talk about a little bit too much. I think landing angle and landing zone is more important. But if you can generate the strike, that's exactly what Parker's trying to get you to do here. Oh, I've got it muddy again. He's trying to generate a strike that can massively help you just get a little bit more control. Control around the greens is key. And if you go on then, oh, and if you can start to play shots like that, you then don't necessarily worry too much about missing greens. It's a bit of a backward chain method. Parker won on the PGA Tour in 2008, like I said. So many players would have faltered on that front nine, missing 8 of the front 9 greens. He played level par on that 9 and then won by 7, like we said, and I'm massively taking my hat off to him. Haircut later, by the way, so don't judge me on that. But I think it's just a massive factor in that now he wants to share this with us, with other golfers. So left sight line up. If I was to want to play this low, I'm going to get the right sight line pointing towards me. So again, it's more about the shaft, but I love that it does determine where my static loft is, and then I'm going to try and return that to be exactly the same. That comes out a lot lower, we generate a bit of spin. You can see that might be more of a percentage shot, but for me, I think it's important that you do have, like we said earlier, an arsenal of shots that can help you generate more success around the green, because that's where so many people struggle, and dynamic loft, static loft and speed will help you massively.
Right, so obviously the flight lines are fantastic on here because a lot of it is down to simple setup. You have to listen to a PGA Tour winner after all, and it's perfect for the everyday golfer because we're just trying to get your setup correct. We're trying to get into a position where we are set to be able to create the shot we want. So thinking about how I want this shot to go. So here I've got a low shot. I want this one to check a little bit. I know there, right, I want to get probably the third sight line, so I'm going to get it a little bit forward, pointing towards my left pocket. It's the back of my stance. But once that's set, one big thing is still letting that club head release. So we're still letting that club head come down into impact. Yes, we'll have the loft off, and then on the way through, I'll release that club and it'll not be held off. So we're not trying to hold the loft off, and that's one big thing we see from amateurs is they don't get into the right setup position, so instantly they're like, okay, middle, I'm going to play this one low. Everything there is neutral, and then from here, we'll drag the club. So we'll drag the club, we'll get into this kind of position. We know the leading edge digs, and we all know the shots that you're going to get. So set this at the back of the stance, off the big toe on my right foot, hands forward to get that sight line straight up towards me. And then from there, I can get that launching out low and having that little bit of check, and then a release out. And you think that that is with a 60 degree, and that's where obviously the good thing is here, you can play those shots. If we get that set up correct and we understand what we're doing, following the recipe book, and again, we can then play any kind of shot. We can get that ball back in the stance, I can let that release, and you see that's a nice low checking.
That was a zipper, wasn't it?
A lot of spin on there. Yes, new grooves, but yes, if we get that club into that correct position, we can get the right impact factors. We can get you hitting down a little bit on the ball. We can get the loft off. We can get it gripping the face a little bit more. And like Parker says, we can get you playing different shots. If I now move this forwards, again, I open that club face. I let the loft or the first sight line go straight up. Nice neutral shaft. I can play a similar swing and get a totally different shot that, depending when you need it, is going to be beneficial. So sight line is something that you don't think about. Thinking about how we get that set up down at the golf ball can really help you hit better shots, hit it closer, and lower your scores.
So guys, hopefully that has helped you think about potentially how you can improve your short game, improve your scores, and go and win a PGA Tour event. Well, guys, thank you so much for watching. Huge thanks to Parker for sending this out. I am going to reach out to Parker, maybe do a little bit of work with him. We are out in the States actually soon, so I might see where he is and see if we can catch up. Guys, if you want to see that, hit that subscribe button, throw a like on it, and let us know in the comments if you'd like to see a short game lesson from a PGA Tour winner who relied heavily on his short game. Thanks for watching. See you all at the same time tomorrow. Goodbye.